Oh, come on. Look, just listen, all right? She got closer, and I got a good look at her. You had to see her eyes, her nose, her whole face. It looked like it was rotting. Yeah. She looked like a corpse. Like a walking corpse, man.
Sounds like my wife.
Sorry, I haven't been able to sleep since that night.
All right, calm down, buddy. Calm down. Just, hey, you gotta stay strong, okay? Don't give in to fear out there, right?
Yeah, well, you got that right. If you freeze up around these things, they'll sink their teeth in you. I should attack somebody.
Wow. Just getting good. I need some sleep. What do I do? What am I gonna do? Hi, I wanted to make a video about Resident Evil 2, and I figured I would do another one of these videos in this haphazard, rambly kind of style, because editing it, if I wanted to make it very professional and make it look really good, editing would take a lot of time, and I just don't have that much time because I'm busy doing other things at the moment. So anyway, we have to talk about Resident Evil 2, and this is going to be hard for me because I'm such a fanboy of the series. Like, for some stupid reason, I just love what Resident Evil is, right down to the terrible story that was Resident Evil 6 and the gun kata moment of that last Resident Evil movie. I think it's like, what, Vendetta or Vengeance or some sort of really stupid ass thing. There's definitely going to be some sort of weird sounding bias coming out of my mouth when talking about this Resident Evil 2 remake. That being said, it's really easy to compare the remake to the original because it is a remake of the original game. There's a lot of things the original Resident Evil 2 did with its hardware limitation that it's just not going to be properly emulated with this current new thing that it is. Which is a weird thing to say, because if you look at the original Resident Evil remake of, you know, the first Resident Evil game, they've really tried to emulate that style and go for the thing. It's like, oh, here is the Resident Evil game that you know and love, but we just improved upon it with better storytelling, better graphics, and all this other kind of mumbo-jumbo or whatever. But it's clear that the team behind this new Resident Evil game wanted to approach it with its modern gameplay sensibilities, and that's not necessarily a wrong thing. They have this beautiful RE engine that they created for Resident Evil 7, and they wanted to apply it to, you know, another Resident Evil game. And what better way to do that with old material? Which is also weird because this is also like the 7th, 8th game that takes place in Raccoon City. Like, they just never leave it alone, and even I'm tired of that, but I can't help myself for loving what this game is.
We really gotta stop meeting like this.
So then it also kind of like begs the question that is this remake just as scary or scarier than the original one? And that's a hard question for me to answer because I've played the original Resident Evil 2 a lot. So when jumping into the Resident Evil 2 remake, there's this air of familiarity with me that is just like, yeah, I know this game all too well. There's nothing about it that's really scary. Nothing jumps out at me as like, oh shit, I'm pooping my pants. But then you get yourself into these moments where you're like, well, I know what to expect, so this isn't gonna scare me at all. And I'm like crawling through this little space and finding myself on the other end with like 2 lickers in front of me and Mr. X sauntering towards me ready to punch me in the face. So it's a different kind of scariness. And that's also a weird thing to say, like it's not... Resident Evil has never really been a horror franchise. You can actually get through this stuff easily. It's just that your resources are limited, which is the whole concept behind that stuff. So it's never really a scary game. It's just scary because you have a limited amount of bullets. And I think they kind of do that well with this game. It's just nice to see them have a different take on an old game as opposed to just trying to remake that old game. As nice as the original Resident Evil remake was, I don't think that that would have been the same direction that you should go in 2019. And I know that I could be talking out of my ass because there's always going to be reverence for those old games. But I also think that it's important to keep those old games the way they are, and you don't have to remake that. It's cool for them to try something different. What the old game had with its camera angles where you could barely see in front or behind you, as long as you like got into the right frame, which could also potentially put you in a lot of danger. This game does that with a flashlight. There's a lot of dark hallways where you can only really see wherever the flashlight is pointing at you. So it leaves you vulnerable to any other direction. How that is handled is really well done, I think. I find. I don't know. But at the same time, we're talking about a guy who's played this game a lot. So my level of oh shit, I'm scared is just really based off of situations that I've been thrust into when I open a door and oh my god, it's a liquor, or oh my god, X is gonna give it to me, you know, like stuff like that. But I want to keep this short because I really just want to say that Resident Evil 2's remake is a fantastic game. If you're a veteran of the franchise, or if this is like your first Resident Evil game, or like you've been playing Resident Evil since 4 onward, this is a great thing to jump into. And they do a lot of things to keep intact what the old game felt like while adding something new. So like the old Resident Evil games maybe weren't all that strong on the story front, but what they're doing with this one this time around is potentially interesting. There's that Ghost Survivor DLC that focuses on different characters that you bump into along the way. Anyway, long story short, what you need to know is that I, Bon Balapti, am a huge Resident Evil fanboy, and I will be shouting at the rooftops for everybody to play this game. And this style of video is very dumb, and what the hell are you doing?
I'm so sorry.
It's not to say it's not an entirely perfect game. I think the AI at bits is a little bit silly. The challenge of fighting your way through this stuff is the fact that zombies are wobbling around while you're trying to aim your gun perfectly at them to get the shot that you want. You're going to miss because they'll move their head a certain way. Their reach is far more better than it should be. And even sometimes like certain boss fights suck. Because you don't have a lot of room to maneuver around, and you know, like the hitboxes in this game are off the wall or whatever. Stuff like that adds to the frustration for a game like this, because if it's supposed to be survival horror and you really have to fight your way through these things, and you just know that there is times where you're just going to die whether you like it or not, just because of how the game is made. It can't be perfect, you know. If you're running through this game trying to beat it under 4 hours or whatever, you're just gonna hit a snag unless you know the ins and outs, the pixel perfect ways to do it, because you've been, you know, speed running this game for God knows how long. I don't know. that stuff aside, this game is great. It's perfect. That is a silly thing to say. It's not necessarily perfect, but it's perfect for me. I'm the worst at this.